Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Alright, so last time we left I was letting you read a book. Now I'm taking you back to comic books. But before we get to the comic books, let's go to the web strips first. Written by Paul Enns. This is Evasive Action, Prey. And what it focuses on is Drake Lagan, Zonder, and Ekria as they're still on the run from High Inquisitor Tremaine. Now, by the way, it's so hard for me not to call her Ekria, because for the longest I mispronounced that. All they did was switch the K and the R and the I a little bit, and I kept calling her Erica, and then someone pointed out back when I was reading it, said, you know, it's Ekria. I went, no, it's not. Is it really? Didn't even realize that. But Ekria, you know. Anyway, these, as I already told you, I like Paul Enns. His web strips were really good. This is basically continues the story. It's a new story arc. One of the things I like about this a lot, though, is it does connect to Coruscant Nights. Paul Enns and Michael Reeves got together and made sure they had some good continuity flow between the stories. Now, I've probably said this a million times already, but here is another example of where we see perfect continuity, authors working together in unity to make one cohesive and non-contradictive storyline. It's so unlike everyone else who says, yeah, the EU is just a conglomerated mess. I mean, authors are writing whatever they wanted. It was just chaos, chaos, chaos. And I'm thinking, wow, you really didn't read a thing, did you? You really didn't read anything. Because they just do not know how much effort went into all the authors, all the writers, across the board, whether you're doing a little web-based, you know, comic strip or an actual best-selling novel, you team up together and see, hey, do we have a place where we can put some continuity between our two stories and we can connect them? Let's do it if we can. That's awesome. That everyone was working together is just incredible. I loved it. It's like I said, the reason I was a Star Wars fan is because of the expanded universe. And the reason I love the expanded universe is because so much care and effort was given into it and thought. It wasn't just a mindless, I'm just going to make a story like this, like you're led to believe. But those are from people who really didn't read much of the EU at all. I digress. Let's go back to the Dark Times comic book. And this one, you're going to have to read Dark Times Blue Harvest. Now, it did have an issue 0, but it also started from 13 and went all the way to issue 17, written by Mick Harrison. Now, this follows the return of Dosh Janir as he is hired to clear a local town of a gang that has settled in there, and he's supposed to give them the boot and get out of there. So, Dosh Janir is back. Hooray, you know. I think the author wanted to turn him into the next Quinlan Voss. I wouldn't go that far. You are no Quinlan Voss, Janir, but you are good enough for me to keep my interest and cheer when he was coming back. I was happy to hear he was coming back. Now, I mentioned that there was an issue 0 to Blue Harvest. It did come out in comic book form, but originally it came out on Dark Horse's MySpace page. That's right, MySpace. That's how old it is. But they decided to put it out in comic book form, which I'm thankful for, because just like Facebook, I never had a MySpace either. I thought it was dumb. So I didn't even know it was a MySpace storyline until like years later. Just when 0 came out, I was like, oh, cool, they had 0. That was kind of weird. They threw that in there too. Yeah, it's exciting to see Dosh Janir come back. It's your classic story of the fallen Jedi who helps out a small town. He's just helping out where he can, doing what he can. And there is a female in this one, a love interest that becomes Janir's love interest, and she follows him around through the rest of the series. And speaking of the rest of the series, before I get any further ahead, you're going to go ahead and go to Dark Times Out of the Wilderness, also written by Mick Harrison, where it has everyone, including Vader, hunting down Dosh Janir, even assassins. Ember Chankili, who was the girl I was about to speak about from the last series, she's in this one too. And so everyone's trying to hunt him down. Good guys are trying to find him. Bad guys are trying to hunt him. It's, one Jedi against the world, kind of like storyline. Now, the story for this comic book is great. It's just as good as the rest of them. My only problem was they stopped consecutive numbering them. They just started rebooting it at number 1 and started doing Dark Times mini-series after this, because number 1 always sells. We're a long-running series that went 15, 17, 21 issues. Egad, who would want to buy that? This is the kind of thing that ticked me off, not just about Dark Horse, but comic book industry as a whole. Instead of doing a long-running series, they want to get you as many number 1s as they can, baby, because number 1 sales. And no one likes a long-running series, which is sad because I appreciate a long-running series. So when they started rebooting Dark Times as just a bunch of mini story arcs, I was disappointed. If that's the only complaint I have, boo-hoo, right? Get over it, Matt. But I'm just letting you know that was the one complaint that I have, that they started rebooting the numbers again. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a softie. I'd love to see a comic book get to issue 100. Now, I read online that one of the issues marks the longest running Star Wars series ever, because they're counting it back when it was Republic, or back when it was just called Star Wars. And supposedly Dark Times morphed into the Republic storyline. No, if you keep changing the title and going back to a new number 1, now Republic, yes, because it switched and took places. But Dark Times didn't pick up at issue, 81 or whatever, which would have been cool. But no, they didn't want to do that. So consecutive numbering is gone. And so what? You celebrate that you had a longer run than the Marvel series. It just means that you printed out more comic books. You didn't number them up. I'll tell you what, Marvel issue 100, when we talk about it, it's really cool. A Star Wars comic book going 100 issues, one consecutive title going 100 issues. That's really, actually went 107. And that's really cool. So this whole, we got to reboot to sell it for number 1 again and again, just not my cup of tea. Anyway, folks, that is all the time I have for today. We'll see you next time with another video.